Hey, it's me, Vicky Marie, with my coffee in my mug. So don't forget the mugs, etc., all available on in my little shop. Thank you to everyone who's already ordered anything. And every month I give away some merchandise to one of my members. Now, first thing I want to say is, I'm back to rant of the day today. I haven't done a rant for ages. I've been doing other things. We're not going to discuss them today. So what I'm going to do, I'm going back to politics today. I've got a couple of little rants. It's so good to get back to whinging about politics again, because I'm a bit of a politics junkie. It does fascinate me what's going on in the British government. And for anyone who says to me, oh, you live in Spain, what's it got to do with you? It's got everything to do with me. All my family live in Britain. I have a politics degree. I've always been interested in politics, and things that happen in the UK affect me as a British person living in a foreign country. Believe me, they affect me big time. And apart from anything else, it's just fun and interesting. That's really what it comes down to, I suppose. So first of all, I just want to thank everybody, like my little ticker. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you to those of you who like my videos or comment on my chats or just watch at home. Thank you to anyone who has contributed to my channel in any way, and especially those who have become members. If you're watching this today, when this video goes out, tonight is a Thursday. And what does Thursday mean? It means Members Live. And tonight on the Members Live, we're going to talk about the mental health of some YouTubers. Over the years, YouTube's had a fun effect on YouTubers. Lots of YouTubers have sort of had breakdowns or meltdowns, or even ended up doing really dangerous things. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about that, because it's sort of it interests me, because YouTube is a funny place, and to be a YouTuber, even with a little channel like mine, I mean, my channel's a tiny channel, but it seems to me the bigger channels get, the more the YouTubers' mental health suffers. But anyway, we're going to, not all of them, but we're going to look at that. There's a couple of interesting cases I want to tell you about of what happened to certain YouTubers who were very, very popular. And right from the beginning, from when YouTube's first set off, if you like, when it was much less regulated than it is now. And that's why, another reason I think that YouTube is more particular now about things. It's not only, there's been a lot of issues with YouTube over the years, and the mental health of the people who contribute to YouTube. So we're going to be talking about that tonight on the Members Live, and some other things. We're going to be having fun as usual. The other thing I just want to mention before I start with this rant of the day is, don't forget, and also I wanted to thank anyone who's bought me a Coffey, anyone who sent me a super or PayPal'd me, thank you so much. And the emails of support that I've had, the comments, the supportive comments, so lovely. These are the things that keep me going, so thank you so much. And then on the 22nd, don't forget, on the 22nd of January, we're having a Burns night. It's Burns night. So this is next Thursday. So send me in any photos of anything Scottish related to show on that night. And we're going to have, I'm going to show you what normally happens on a Burns night. I'm going to sort of reproduce as much as I can. And we're just going to have fun. We're going to have a laugh, really. We're going to have a wee dram of whiskey. We're going to have some haggis, either vegetarian or not. It's up to you, whatever floats your boat. But yeah, it's just going to be a fun night, because we need a fun night. We've not had a fun night since New Year on YouTube. I mean, I'm not saying you've not had any fun apart from YouTube, outside of YouTube. I'm talking about on my channel. Okay, so let me just turn off the ticker and let's have a look at these twonks. So, of course, this is rant of the day, but I think I'm going to have to change this to twonks of the day or whatever. And there's so many twonks, isn't there, really? Not only in politics, every day when you look at the news, you could talk about at least 5 things, probably. Just not enough time in the day to do all the videos that I want to do about things. But these, there's one in particular I've decided that I was going to do, and then another one came up. So we're going to start with the other one, if you like, the one that we're going to talk about, Terese Coffey. And I don't know what you know about Terese Coffey, but she's a Conservative politician. Let's just have a look at her. She was a big mate of Liz Truss. When Liz Truss was Prime Minister for like about 30 seconds, cost the country a fortune, etc. Terese Coffey was a big fan of hers, and a big fan, to be fair, of Boris Johnson as well. And she was minister for various different ministries. You know, she was useless in all of them. This is Terese Coffey. You know, she's yeah. She was while she was Minister of Health. She was a picture was taken of her with a whiskey in one hand and a cigar in her mouth. So you know, she wasn't the best Minister of Health. Here we are. You know, she wasn't the best Minister of Health we could have had. She's also she has a sister working for her. She's they've put her next to Ken Clark there. Is she Ken Clark, or is she his daughter, or what? She does look a bit like him. You know, yeah, so it's up to her if she wants to smoke a cigar or drink whiskey, but it's not really ideal for the health secretary, I suppose. So, yeah, she's big mates with Liz Truss and Nadine Dorries. You know, so these leading lights of the Conservative Party, female contingent. I mean, for goodness sake, is that the best they've got to offer for the women, the best women they've got to offer in the Conservative Party? Anyway, since little Richie Rishi has come in, she's fallen out of favour. She doesn't fit Rishi's I personally think, you know, Rishi has sort of brought in more sort of what's the word, aesthetically pleasing people to be on his to be his ministers, etc. I think Terese wouldn't have fitted in, not only because she perhaps doesn't look the part that shiny Rishi wants her to look, but also she was such a mate of Liz Truss's, you know, so they won't have been, you know, and Liz Truss and Rishi aren't exactly friends, are they? And Rishi and Boris certainly aren't friends. So that's probably when she fell out of favour. So she's not a minister now, but she's still an MP. And the reason I wanted to just talk about her is because, you know, there's all this kerfuffle about the Rwanda bill, which did pass, I think, through the House of Commons last night by 44 votes. And she stood up in the Houses of Parliament. So this is what I want to show you, the video that I want to show you. Gosh, it was on Twitter. Now, I don't know how much you know about Rwanda, but of course Rwanda is the country itself. And the capital of Rwanda is Kigali. So, and Yvette Cooper, who is the very, very good, in my eyes, leader of the not the leader of the opposition, sorry, the shadow Secretary of State. So if Labour got in, Yvette Cooper would become the Secretary of State and take over James Cleverly's job. You know, oh my God, well, nobody could be worse than him. I mean, he's shot himself in the foot so many times. You know, he's gone a bit quiet since the Rothenol joke that he made, that he needs to keep his wife mildly sedated so that she doesn't realise there are better men out there. It's just the most inappropriate joke for Home Secretary, you know, to make. I mean, for goodness sake. Anyway, so she's his other half, if you like, his opposite number. And she'd stood up and made a speech about the Rwanda bill. And Terese Coffey but she had referred to, hang on. She had referred to Kigali rather than Rwanda. She had mentioned the name Kigali, which is the capital of Rwanda. So it's like if you were talking about something that was happening in England, you said something about London. So Terese Coffey obviously does not know that Kigali is the capital of Rwanda, because she then...
The name of the country right, talking about the Kigali government, we're talking about Rwanda. Respected country that has recently...
Terese Coffey.
You, Mr. Speaker, it's important to speak in this bill today. I have to say I was somewhat astonished by the speech of the shadow Home Secretary, who can't even get the name of the country right, talking about the Kigali government. We're talking about Rwanda. Respected country that has recently been president of the Commonwealth. In that regard, though, Mr. Speaker, I also want to associate my comment.
Terese Coffey.
You, Mr. Speaker, it's important to speak in this bill today. I have to say I was somewhat astonished by the speech of the shadow Home Secretary, who can't even get the name of the country right, talking about the Kigali government. We're talking about Rwanda. Respected country that has recently been president of the Commonwealth. In that regard, though.
So I don't think Yvette looks very upset about that. And this is Stephen Kinnock. So there you go. So she's chastising Yvette. It's sort of, gone viral. Maybe she should have said Rwanda. I don't know. But I just don't like Terese Coffey. Let's just watch it again. Let me know what you think. So she's the creme de la creme of the Conservative Party, or she was.
Mr. Speaker, I also want to associate...
I don't know if it's just me, but you just feel like, with the Conservatives now, honestly, generally, it's not a question of whether I support Labour's, but it's time. It's time for them to go. It's embarrassing watching all of it.
My comment.
Terese Coffey.
You, Mr. Speaker, it's important to speak in this bill today. I have to say I was somewhat astonished by the speech of the shadow Home Secretary, who can't even get the name of the country right, talking about the Kigali government. We're talking about Rwanda. Respected country that has recently been president of the Commonwealth. In that regard, though, Mr. Speaker, I also want to associate my comment.
Terese.
So that was the first thing I just wanted to show you, but that wasn't the main one that I was going to do today. The one that I was going to do, and I just thought I'd add that one in. I wanted to talk about Lee Anderson. Now, I don't know what you know about Lee Anderson. 30p Lee, they call him. Don't know if you know about that or what happened. Let me just show you again some photos of him. Oops. Where have I gone? Another creme de la creme of the Conservative Party. And what I think a lot of people don't know about Lee Anderson, if you even know who he is, he was the leader of the House. He'd been made the leader of the House, I think, or the chairman of the Conservative Party, or the deputy chairman. He'd recently been given quite a big promotion. He's got very extreme right-wing views about a lot of things. Now, he's from the north, and he was a Labour politician. He was a Labour politician, and he was thrown out of the Labour Party for making misogynist remarks. He went canvassing with a lady, and he made a comment about she was a really good door knocker. There was a picture on his social media standing next to her, and she's quite, she's a woman. She's got breasts like women do. And he made this comment referring to them and saying, no, she's a really good door knocker, with that sort of intent of what he was saying. So he's thrown out of the Labour Party. So he went running to the Conservative Party, who, gathered him up with open arms, because for them to get someone in the north in this, the Red Wall, I don't know how much you know about what they call the Red Wall seats that Boris Johnson managed to. That's why Boris Johnson got such a landslide victory in the last election, because he won over the Red Wall. In other words, a lot of constituencies that had never, ever voted Conservative before, you know, that were red brick Labour seats, safe seats. And Lee Anderson, he helped with that because he is from the north as well. So he's got a very strange style, which appeals to some people. I mean, personally, I don't mind politicians that say what they really think, even whether I agree with them or not. I don't very rarely agree with anything Lee Anderson has to say, but I appreciate his honesty. He doesn't try and cover up, you know, what he thinks, and I do appreciate that. He is honest in that sense, you know, he says what he thinks, but he's done some things that are slightly dishonest, which I'm going to tell you about in a minute. But another thing he caused a stir about was, you know, during this cost of living crisis and, you know, people starving to death in Britain, for goodness sake, in Britain. He said that you could make a meal for 30p. That's where he's got this nickname, 30p Lee. Now, if you, any of you that are out there, you want to tell me that you can make a meal for 30p, well, probably a soup or something like that. Maybe if you didn't put actually anything in it, it's a stock cube and a few old vegetables or something. I mean, come on, yeah, making a meal for 30p. And yeah, maybe you can if you were really strapped or whatever, but you know, I bet his meals don't cost 30p. It doesn't look like he lives on 30p meals. I mean, come on. I mean, to me, I think really a meal, a decent meal, you're looking at least £5, aren't you? Or £3 to £5, possibly through, depending on what you're cooking. But to cook something proper with vegetables, with protein, with, you know, what people need. Healthy food is more expensive than crap food, isn't it? You could, but even for 30p, you can't get McDonald's or anything like, you can't even get anything crappy, really, can you? I mean, what can you get for 30p? You know, anyway, so that's what he said. And that's where he earned this nickname, 30p Lee. So it's just like, it's just so, even if he's thinking that, to just say that at a time when people really struggle, make people feel guilty that they're not making their food go far enough, you know, that they have to go to food banks, etc. Food banks, more food banks now in the UK than there are branches of McDonald's. You know, that's the society Britain is now. And this idiot telling people that they can make a meal for 30p. Anyway, I'd like to say, do you know, they should give him that test. They should give him a month where there was a politician once, wasn't it, did that, but he gave up on it. He did this challenge where he said he would live on whatever the income support rate was for a month, or and he couldn't do it. He had to give it up. I'm just trying to think who that was now. So one of you out there might know it. I can't remember. It was a Conservative. But as soon as I put Conservative in there in my search engine, it's come up. Conservatives, political party. Conservative MP charged rape. Conservative MPs in sex scandals. Conservative meaning, and then it goes into other things that are. But the first three search, you know, when you search something on Google and they come up with suggestions, the first three are Conservatives political party, Conservative MP charged rape, and Conservative MPs in sex scandals. That's not very inspiring, is it? Anyway, so I was looking for something else. Conservative. Yeah, I'm sure I tried to live on income support or something like that. Yes, Ian Duncan Smith said he could live on £53 a week on benefits, and he was challenged to prove it. But somebody actually did try it. Matthew Paris. This was it. So this was in the 1980s. Matthew Paris tried to live for a week on a single man's unemployment benefit of £26.80. In fact, I'll share it. In the 1980s, Tory MP Matthew Parrish tried to live for a week on a single man's unemployment benefit of £26.80 in a Scotswood bedsit and failed spectacularly. I heard they're saying Lee Anderson should be humble enough to do the same thing today. Yeah. And he said, there's a documentary, I'm going to go through that one day, another video that I need to do. So he said it was he didn't change his views on benefits though. He said it was a pretty meagre, threadbare existence and he ran out of cash, but the level was right for those in between jobs. Come on. Anyway, the thing is, yeah, okay, if you had to do it for 2 weeks, I think we could all probably do it for a couple of weeks. We're talking about living on it, if you can't get a job, living on it long term. And he tried it with the single man thing. What about families? So Ian Duncan Smith, he's another horrible man saying he can live on £53 a week. He probably spends that just, on one meal or whatever. I suppose, yeah, he could live on £53 a week if he takes Lee Anderson's advice, 30p Lee, only 30p every meal. So you'd have loads left over, wouldn't you? Anyway, so yes, this is Lee Anderson. Now, he was as I say, he was a Labour politician, and Labour just rejected him in the end because of these misogynist remarks that he made about the door knocker. She's a really good door knocker, about the misogynist remark that he made. So he then immediately he was suspended in February 2018 by the Labour Party. And he did some other things as well. He received a community protection warning from the council for using boulders to block members of the traveller community from setting up camp at a site in the area. So he did a few things that he shouldn't have done. So he defected to the Conservative Party, and that was it, really, basically. So he said that the Labour Party had been taken over by the hard left, despite the fact that he was actually a strong supporter of Michael Foot and Arthur Scargill. Do you know how short memories are? He's forgotten that he was a supporter of Arthur Scargill and Michael Foot. And then, now he's God, they'd be turning in their graves, wouldn't they? There he was supporting them 1 minute, and then now the next minute is known as one of the most right-wing conservative politicians. Anyway, he's 57 years old. Gosh, I thought he was older than that. I don't, not that matters. So he's 57 years old. He's famous now for his right-wing views. Sorry, let me just get back to the pictures of him. And why he's been a bit twonky, he's always twonky, but what stuck out in my, what I was watching, get over this Rwanda bill again. So he's very anti-immigration, and I know some people agree with that, and it may be to do with the constituencies in. There's probably a lot of ethnic minorities, but they are his constituents as well, and maybe you should remember that. I don't think he'll still have a seat probably after the next election. I think he's one of those who's in danger of losing his seat. The Labour Party won't have him back, so I'm not really quite sure where he intends to take everything. Then he says he quit Labour. He didn't quit Labour. Labour got rid of him. Labour didn't want him. It wasn't because he quit. He was pushed. So when this Rwanda bill was being discussed again, now he wanted to vote against the Rwanda bill because he didn't agree with the amendments. It wasn't right-wing enough for him, because to get it through, this Rwanda bill was so extreme that to get it through his own politicians, Rishi Sunak had to alter it and water it down a little bit. Lee Anderson and another Conservative politician did not agree with that. So he said he's not going to vote for it because he wanted the original, more hardline bill to go through. So he said he was going to vote against it. But in the end, he did not vote against it. He abstained. And the reason that he abstained was, hang on, let me just find it. He abstained because, no, I did have this ready, hang on. No, it's because I moved on to another. He abstained, as I say, because he thought it, no, sorry, he was going to vote against it because he thought it wasn't right-wing enough. But what he said, why he abstained rather than voting against it, was because he went into the lobby. Here he is now. He went into the lobby where, you know, they go into the sort of vote in favour lobby, vote against lobby, and I'm presuming there's an abstention lobby. And he went into the vote against lobby in the Houses of Parliament. But he said that Labour MPs were in there sniggering at him. Oh, bless. And his little snowflake, he couldn't take it being sniggered at. So he said, and they were, you know, gently poking fun at him. I mean, you know, if you can't take a little bit of banter, then really you shouldn't be in politics, should you? He has enough banter to say about everybody else. So the Labour MPs were sniggering and saying he's coming back to Labour, and so he couldn't do it. He just could not vote with Labour. So he abstained, and he'd resigned the day before so that he could do this, because of course if he was still in his position that he was in the Conservative Party, you know, I think it's quite confusing, isn't it, when they say, oh, such and such has resigned, and you think, oh my God, they've resigned. They've only resigned from their position within the party. They haven't resigned completely from politics. They're still an MP, you know, they're still and he'd resigned from his position as a deputy chairman. And yeah, so poor little snowflake went into the lobby. All the Labour MPs were laughing at him, saying, oh, he's coming back to Labour, or making a joke. Well, of course they would. And he couldn't do it. He couldn't do it. So let's have a look what he says. There's somebody there saying 30p flea instead of 30p Lee. It's quite funny. I think it's quite funny anyway. Oh, is that? I thought it was. I've just watched a video. It's not a video. All right. Okay. The video must be further along. There's definitely a video of him speaking somewhere. Here he is.
As the deputy chairman of the Conservative Party, that was a difficult decision, but I think the right thing to do.
So it sounds to me like he's from like Mansfield or somewhere like that, but I don't know. He's not. It's not a Manchester accent that he's got anyway, I don't think.
Last night I resigned as a deputy chairman of the Conservative Party. That was a difficult decision, but I think the right thing to do. You know, tonight I was going to vote no. I went into the no lobby to vote no because you know, I couldn't see how I could support the bill after backing all the amendments. I got into the no lobby. I spent about 2 or 3 minutes with a colleague in there. The Labour lot was all giggling and laughing and taking the mick, and I couldn't do it in my heart of hearts. I could not vote no, so I walked out and come out. So I've abstained.
Now, could you imagine if it was the other way round, you know, and a Labour MP had come in to vote against Labour? He'd be laughing and joking and saying, oh, you're coming to join our side and whatever. That is banter. That's not like bullying. That's not, you know, that's the banter of pop politics. Is full of banter. And again, if you can't take the flak, don't become a politician. You know, that the reason I never became a politician, which I would quite really have loved to have done, is because I couldn't stay impartial. You know, I get too angry and I get too emotional about everything, and you do have to have you do have to be more level than probably I am. I'd rather come on here and have a rant and say what I really think than be a politician and have to be calm and measured all the time. But you know that you've got to take a little bit of banter here and there.
I wanted to vote no, but when I saw that lot in there laughing, there's no way I could support them above the party that's given me a political home. So I hope the bill succeeds.
Well, the Labour Party gave you a political home until you started talking about door knockers and things.
You know, I've got my reservations, Chopper. It's upset me, honestly, over the past 24 hours. It's a difficult thing to do, not to support the government that's been really, really good to me and good to Ashfield. Let's remember this government has given Ashfield like record amounts investment. Like I say, I hope the bill works. I hope it stops the boats. And from now on, the Prime Minister's got my full support.
You seem quite crestfallen, Lee.
I am. I'm gutted, mate, to be honest with you. It's not a nice thing to do to watch your mates go into one lobby and you go into the other. Like I said, I went into the no lobby to rebel. This is the key word at the moment. But once I saw the Labour lot sniggling and taking the mate, I thought, you know what?
Well, haven't you got a thick skin, Lee Anderson? Come on, I've seen you go toe to toe with the left of the.
He's only got a sense of humour when it comes to him taking the piss out of everybody else. He doesn't like anybody taking the piss out of him. That's a bit of a narcissist trait, maybe. So, yeah, a bit of banter when you're giving the banter, but you don't like banter coming back.
But at the end of the day, my mates are going in one lobby and I'm in another, and they're taking the...
Tell us what they were saying then.
They're just sniggling and pointing and laughing. Oh, Leander's in there. You know, he's coming back to the Labour Party and all this. I saw that. I thought, you know what? Off.
It's like the playground antics.
It is. It's playground politics.
Playground politics. He should know. This is the creme de la creme of the Conservative Party. He was the deputy chairman. And he thinks you can make a meal for 30p easily. He come to my constituency. He said, come to the food banks and we'll show you how you can make a meal for 30p. Well, you know, that sounds like something, well, of course, probably the bigger quantities that you're making, the more like, you know, to make a great big bowl of soup, you know, a great big pan of soup. Maybe that's 30p each. But, you know, it's just horrible. And he cannot now. He's shown he has no sense of humour when it comes to him. He's always criticising everybody. He's walked into a lobby, they were sniggling, and he just thought, oh, fuck off. You know, he's like a knuckle dragger. He's an awful man.
Politics, but
let's watch it again.
So last night I resigned as a deputy chairman of the Conservative Party. That was a difficult decision, but I think the right thing to do. You know, tonight I was going to vote no. I went into the no lobby to vote no because I couldn't see how I could support the bill after backing all the amendments. I got into the no lobby. I spent about 2 or 3 minutes with a colleague in there. The Labour lot was all giggling and laughing and taking the mick, and I couldn't do it in my heart of hearts. I could not vote no, so I walked out and come out. So I've abstained. I wanted to vote no, but when I saw that lot in there laughing, there's no way I could support them above the party that's given me a political home. So I hope the bill succeeds. You know, I've got my reservations, Chopper. It's upset me, honestly, over the past 24 hours. It's a difficult thing to do, not to support the government that's been really, really good to me and good to Ashfield. Let's remember this government has given Ashfield like record amounts investment. Like I say, I hope the bill works. I hope it stops the boats. And from now on, the Prime Minister's got my full support.
You seem quite crestfallen, Lee.
I am. I'm gutted, mate, to be honest with you. It's not a nice thing to do to watch your mates go into one lobby and you go into the other. Like I said, I went into the no lobby to rebel. This is the key word at the moment. But once I saw the Labour lot sniggling and taking the mate, I thought, you know what?
Well, haven't you got a thick skin, Lee Anderson? Come on, I've seen you go toe to toe with the left of the.
But at the end of the day, my mates are going in one lobby and I'm in another, and they're taking the.
Tell us what they were saying then.
Oh my God, how awful. My mates are going in one lobby and I'm going in another, and they're all sniggling. Oh my God, I don't know how you survive the day, Lee. Is that the biggest problem that you've got? For fuck's sake, you want some proper problems.
Pointing and laughing. Oh, Leander's in there. You know, he's coming back to the Labour Party and all this. I saw that. I thought, you know what? Off.
It's like the playground antics.
It is. It's playground politics, but
Good God, for God's sake. And he is a person who's always talking about snowflakes and woke and this, that, and the other. And he can't even, that's the worst thing that happened to him that day, that he had to walk in a lobby and his mates walked into another lobby and they were all sniggling. For God's sake. Oh, my God. My God. Oh, it's so nice to have a rant again. It's so nice to have a rant. Okay, so there you go. As always, give me your opinions. You may not agree with me. That's fine. Don't agree with me. Don't agree with me. That's just my thoughts on two twonks today. I hope you've enjoyed the video. I'll see, if you remember, I'll see you tonight in the members live. But in any case, I'll be back very soon with another video. And remember to live and love wisely and carefully. Don't let people sniggle about you, just bullying people like that. God, how pathetic. Anyway, I'll see you really soon in the next video. And until then, may your God go with you. Bye.